Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And to tell you more about this wonderful studio is the owner, the producer of my show, and my buddy, Joe Gangemi. Take it away, Joe.
Hey, thanks, Coop. Hi, everyone. Yes, this is Joe Gangemi from SuiteRecording. At SuiteRecording, we help brands, businesses, and organizations to launch podcasts and YouTube channels of their own. From those podcast episodes, we can then help you to create all kinds of social media content like video clips and blog posts and newsletters and more. So it's a very efficient and effective approach to digital marketing. So if you're interested in learning more, you can contact me anytime at hello@suiterecording.com or visit us on the web at suiterecording.com. Again, that's SUITE. Take it away, Coop.
I'll tell you, man, Joe's getting comfortable. I think in a few weeks, I'm going to sit there and go walk in. The door's going to be locked, and he'll be hosting the Joe Tank with my guests. Which my guests today are all guys I've met. I've met these gentlemen all through networking, and I've met them through over the last few years. In fact, one of them he's wearing his T-shirt right now. I have one of his T-shirts. But my first guest from Olympia Moving is Patrick Sipera. How you doing, Pat?
I'm well, Steve. Thanks for having me today.
You got it. And then from Too Creative, Mr. John Lorenzo.
Thanks for having me, Coop.
And from Keller Engineers of New Jersey, I know it says of New Jersey, we have Mr. Sam Mody. How you doing, Sam?
Good morning, Coop. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good. So, Patrick, tell us a little about what you do and about Olympia Moving.
Awesome. So I am the business development rep out of the Olympia Moving and Storage branch. We have 4 branches. One's in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm out of the Philadelphia, South Jersey branch. We have a branch in Austin, Texas, and one in Washington, D.C. So basically what I do and what we do is we talk to people through our network, a lot of which is on today's screen. And we help people that are typically frustrated. They might have moved before. And if you think of moving, some people think it's a very daunting task. And it is, and it's pretty involved. What we do is we put together a move plan that supports and represents their budget and what they're looking to accomplish. And I give suggestions along the way. So it could be from packing up, boxes, it could be grandmom's china, something, sincere or dear to their heart. Or it could be the big baby grand piano and everything in between. So whether it's local, regional, national, like lower 48 states, or international, we can certainly support your efforts moving residentially. And we have another division called commercial moving as well. So that's a little bit about what I do, Coop.
Okay, it's funny, real quick about moving. When we moved from L.A., we hired a mover, and people were like, why don't you drive across country and pull your stuff? I said, you know what? I'm over 50. Okay, if I can't afford a mover, I've screwed up in life. I'm just saying. So it was so easy because they do everything. And next we have a gentleman. As I said, I have one of his shirts. He gave me it, and I would have worn it today, John, but black with this screen, I look like my big bulbous head makes me look like Casper. And we have from Too Creative, we have John Lorenzo. Tell us more about what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coop. So Too Creative is a full-service graphic design and printing company. So we do everything from branding companies with their logo, creating their website, and then doing all of the printed stuff from their apparel to their wall wraps, their fleet graphics, all of their marketing materials, promo products. We're a one-stop shop for all of their graphic needs.
Okay. And then now, Sam, tell us about what you do. It's Sam's first appearance on a podcast. We said, don't get nervous, Sam, because these guys are great. They're pros, except Patrick. But just tell us more about tell us more about what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Coop. Keller Engineers of New Jersey. We were formed about 7 years ago. We're a team of civil engineers, planners, and construction inspectors. We offer full service civil engineering to clients that range from transportation folks, which would be your agencies, New Jersey Department of Transportation, the Turnpike Authority, South Jersey Transportation Authority, Port Authority, New Jersey Transit, etc. The other half of the business is the private side, which is our land development arm. And that could be homeowners, industrial and commercial clients. And we provide engineering innovative solutions, trying to add value to our proposition, and we're very responsive in our project delivery.
All right, great. Now, you guys all said what you do. Okay, we know that. I want to know how you got to where you are today, how you came in the position. I'm going to start with you, John, because you're the youngest of the crowd. So I know I want to see what you say. How did you get to where you are of actually, you own a business, which is very admirable, because especially in this day and age. But what were your steps? What happened? How did you get to be the president of 22 Creative?
I failed. I am a Penn State dropout. I thought I was going to be an engineer. Thought I was going to be an engineer my whole life. That's all my parents told me. They're like, you're going to be an engineer. And I went to Penn State for 2 years. And I engineered a lot of drinks and threw a lot of parties. But in that time, I learned that I'm actually pretty good at business development and getting people to trust me. So through my own mistakes and failure, I ended up taking over the job that was my first job in high school. And before 22 Creative, I owned a Postnet franchise. It's kind of like a FedEx office or a UPS store. And that store was failing when I took it over when I was 22. But in 5 years, we grew it to be a top 50 in the country. And then I just got tired of them telling me what I can and what I can't do. And I went through a breakup, actually. And I went to Mexico. And I drank a whole bunch of tequila. I looked down to the ocean. And I said, let's do it again. So I went back. I told my team, hey, we're closing up shop. We're going out on our own. And here we are, 22 Creative. 5, 6 years later now, we've got a team of 10 amazing individuals. We served over 1,600 clients. And it's just through failures of life that has kind of opened up the doors to where I am today. And it's so much fun, man. So much fun.
That's awesome, man. How about you, Sam? How did you get to where you are?
Yeah, so my story is a little bit different. I had a goal in high school, actually, to be a business owner. And through my high school career, even my collegiate and early days, seemed to gravitate to some kind of business. I seemed to have a second job. When I joined the State Department of Transportation, my first employer, and I always had a second job to go to. And one of them was I was a contractor, and I did work for residential folks, building driveways and sidewalk and curbs and basement floors, all, hands-on, sweat type projects. And I kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit. But as I, moved up in the engineering community, I just stayed in the professional sector. I worked for somebody for literally 35 years. And I've been traveling a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I've had difficulty playing golf again, because I put on so many miles on my body and the cars that I own that I just got tired one day. 2016, I left a very good job and decided to start my own business. I just did not want to travel to North Jersey, New York daily to operate a business. And I opened up a shop in South Jersey. My first office was in Camden. We were there for 6.5 years, and this May we moved to Haddonfield. And I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying being my own boss, hiring professionals that have similar goals and aspirations I do. My staff is relatively young, and quite frankly, I'm looking for future owners. I'm looking for my staff to really take this company and continue the legacy that I started.
That's awesome, man. How about you, Patrick? How did you end up at Olympia Moving? Because I know you're a Camden Catholic guy.
I am a Camden Catholic guy from Cherry Hill, but my career actually started about 30 years ago. And a silly story, but a true story was I was 14 years old, and I wanted I wanted a pair of jeans from the Gap. They were $120. And I asked my father, Dad, I want these jeans. He said, here's $10 and get a job. Fortunately for me, I had a wrestling coach that owned a moving company, and I have 2 older brothers, and they both worked for that same company. And 2 weeks later, I was with a family friend who ironically drove a tractor trailer, and I was in Pittsburgh loading a full tractor trailer with a lot of sweat equity, for sure. and I did some pretty crazy stuff. For the next few years, I traveled on the road in the summer. I obviously went to high school, but I was on the road for about 3 months in the summer with this one gentleman, and I made a lot of money. And my hourly wage was $6 per hour back in 1994, which is a long
Wow.
time ago. So I did that for a period of time until I got sick of it. I actually wound up getting a tractor. I got my Class A tractor trailer trucker license, and I was running crews and running up and down the East Coast, moving household residents. And I finally got sick of it. My back was really hurting. It was tough to tie my shoes in the morning. And at that point, my oldest brother actually owned the company that I worked for. And I said, I want to be in sales. He said, no way, go get trained by somebody else. So I quit, went and sold security systems for about 6 months, had some beginner success. I was like salesman of the whatever of Guardian Protection Services for 2 months out of that 6. And then he brought me back on and as a sales rep. And we did that until about 2000, from 2001 till about 2010. Unfortunately, we had to shut our doors at that point because of the marketplace. Left there, went to another moving company for about 10 years. And I landed in this business development role at Olympia in 2020 of October. So I haven't looked back, and having a really good time.
That's awesome. You guys all have good stories. You seem to like what you're doing, and I love how people, you always see the hashtag love my job, which always cracks me up. It's like, come on, we don't need to hear that shit, But what do you love about your job? There's something you have to love that keeps you coming back. And we'll start with you, Sam. What do you love about what you're doing now?
Well, the reason I went into business was I was seeing a trend in the private sector that folks were not mentoring the young engineers and technicians coming out of school. So what I really do love is sitting down with my staff and just helping them through the learning curve. They don't know what they don't know yet, and just trying to share some of the knowledge and experience that I've had and the mentoring that I was given very young in my career, and just help them along. They're going to make mistakes. I know that, going in, but I do enjoy, the interface with the staff. And, for a number of years, I was by myself operating this business. And then slowly we started building our staff support, both in the field and in the office. That's one thing. And then the second part of it is the varying levels of clientele that I've been able to attract. When I was in the national side, we only attracted a certain fee threshold of clients. Now there is no fee threshold. I'll take on any type of work where I feel I could add value to their project. So the second half of what I enjoy is really just working with clients, and they can be very difficult. They've got all types of clientele, all kinds of demands, all kinds of expectations. But I do enjoy educating them on how we can get from point A to point B and delivering their project to success.
Okay, how about you, Patrick? What do you love about what you do?
Go with two things. One is I am in business development. I talk to a lot of different people. One of the things it's near and dear to my heart is connecting other people. I was with a big client of mine this past week. I brought lunch, and we were talking, kind of did like a little lunch and learn. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you guys are one of my biggest clients. It's a restoration company. And I was like, how can I help you guys? And through some conversation, I was able to connect them with two people, potential power partners. So I really, really love and enjoy actually helping my either clients or people that I just network with, just connect with the people that can actually put money in their pocket. The other thing that I love is, I think somebody asked me one time, what's your superpower? And I think one of my superpowers are talking to a client who's in a great deal of like stress super anxious about maybe their move upcoming, all their things that they have to do. And I can kind of bring them off that ledge and really kind of calm them down and then present a plan that's going to work for them and their family.
Okay. How about you, John? What do you love? What do you love about running 22 Creative?
What I love about our company is that it's so much more than just printing. When we get to work with a company, say for example, a startup, we're bringing their vision to life. They have even as simple as the laundromat that we did yesterday. This company said, hey, we're buying this laundromat. It's old. We're going to renovate it, bring a new face to it. And that laundromat is going to help so many people in the community. When we help a new business or help a business just grow and scale, we're able, I think of it as there's more jobs that we're creating. There's people in the community that they're able to help. It's much more than just a printed piece, but also I get a lot of joy from just seeing their face. When the owners saw the window graphics and the new sign that we put up on their laundromat yesterday, they were like, wow, it's real. We're bringing their vision to life. People always say, John, you're young. Why aren't you in digital marketing? I like that tangible, that sensation that we give them, where they just get so much joy from seeing it or touching their first business card. That stuff's cool to me. I really love what we do with all of the businesses that we work with.
Okay, I'm going to ask the flip side of that, because when I was a touring stand-up comedian, I loved being on stage, but I hated driving to gigs. I hated to be driving through Ohio and Indiana for 10 nights, like 4 hours between a gig, but it was worth it once I got on stage. So you guys all said what you love. What do you not like about your job? We'll start with you, John. What do you not like about your job?
What do I not like about my job?
I mean, there has to be something. There has to be some little quirk.
You know what? Before I hopped on this podcast, sometimes the hardest part about my job is setting good expectations with a client, right? So like the job that I was just talking to him about, it was for a wall mural for the school in Philadelphia. And she wanted all of these kids' photos on this wall mural. You just sent me an email. She said, it looks great, but is it going to be pixelated? I was like, well, I don't know, because you only gave me like iPhone pictures. There's going to be a little bit of level of pixelation in there, but it should still look good. So the thing that is the hardest part, I think, in every business is just managing expectations with your clients and with your staff, everybody. It's that managing of expectations. Whenever there is something that goes wrong or there's any kind of friction, it's usually because expectations weren't set properly. So that is probably the one thing that I don't like about my job, but I also see it as a challenge. And every time we do it, it's awesome.
Okay. How about you, Patrick?
This is going to sound a little cliche, but prior to COVID, as a sales business development rep, you would go in your car and drive to a client's house, and you'd be able to do 1, 2, 5 appointments a day, whatever, depending on the locations or the geographic location, right? So, but since COVID, there's been some stuff that we've done internally at Olympia where we can actually do a survey or virtually, a lot like what we're doing today on this podcast. And we have AI software, and it's pretty some rock solid stuff. So for me, if I have to be on the road for more than like an hour or two a day, I'm just like, man, this day is going to be such a bummer. But it's cliche in my role, man. I'm a business development guy.
How about you, Sam? What don't you like?
Yeah, I think I can see some parallels with John's experience. Managing expectations is a 24/7 job for us. We're taking a client's dream and bringing it to reality, whether it's an agency building a roadway or a bridge or some type of structure, or a landowner that wants to build a site plan or subdivision and needs to get us through the municipal process. So the expectation management is a challenge, and sometimes we put a lot of time in that. Try to over communicate to make sure that they understand the process all the way through. And I think the other part of the business that is challenging at times is bill collecting. We put together very comprehensive progress reports for our work. We recognize every dollar that we spend of a client's client's purse string, and we respect that. And when we have to, send out reminders and get them on the phone to talk about the invoice, it is at times problematic. Like, I spend a lot of time with that. Ultimately, we get the collection, but we have to work for it sometimes.
Okay, so now since you guys all work with customers, clients, there's always going to be a nightmare client, and you can say we've never had a crappy client. It's like anything; someone's going to bitch. You can go to a restaurant and hear someone just, they're bitching because their pasta that's called a spicy pasta is too spicy. People just bitch at times. What's a problem customer you've had in the past, and how did you problem solve it? Because it comes back to you, and you want to look good, but sometimes and the customer always isn't right. I mean, whoever said that is wrong. The customer is not always right. Like, if I ask John for a picture of me and it's Uncle Junior from The Sopranos, we can get away with it, but it's not right. Patrick, what's a problem you ran into, and how did you solve it?
Wow. So we have some from time to time. When you're dealing with the public, it's it can sometimes be challenging because maybe I didn't do a good job with setting, like both Sam and John had said, the expectation on the front end, and them kind of going off the handle. How have I solved that? I mean, at the end of the day, it's I bring up all the things that we've talked about, the scope of work. A lot of times we're outside of that scope, so there's where some of those problems will arise. And I reiterate, like, how are the guys doing out there? And they're like, they're great, they're doing wonderful, they're working hard. And oftentimes I'll give them like an A, a B, and a C solution, and kind of gauge where they kind of want to go. And I mean, it's more of like a negotiation of like, hey, we're willing to go here because we honor your business and we value it, but at the end of the day, we did this service. So I typically I'm pretty a straight shooter as well. So I don't know if that's answered your question.
It does. I want to know, John, your answer, because you're a creative type, and creative types are very we're very we're insecure and we're narcissists. We reach out, but we want, when we create something, we think it's right, and it's hard, for drafts. I wrote a screenplay in LA, and I work with producers, and they'd keep bringing me notes, and I'm like, but I'm right. I'm right. I'm like, no, it's not. How do you deal with, because you probably get some people who don't agree with your vision. How do you deal with that? How do you get, when someone complains, how do you troubleshoot it?
Yeah, I'll give a perfect example of a client that we did not win, but I think I won in another way. So last month, we had this new law firm that reached out to us from North Jersey. Just found us online, saw that we do good work, reached out. They wanted a logo package and a website, but they had a hard deadline if they wanted everything launched by January 1st. Well, that stuff takes time. It's at least a 3-month process for each phase. So it was going to have to be a rush. We go through our whole sales presentation, our whole sales process that we follow every single time. We get to the price, and they're like, that's kind of a lot. And I was like, well, you need a lot. That's our rate. And a week goes by, and they come back to us and they say, we came up with this logo concept on Fiverr or somewhere online, one of those cheap design places. Can you just make it better? And that didn't sit well with me, because you basically just came to me and said, we don't value your work. Let me find a cheaper way to do it. So my staff, my design team, I have 4 full-time graphic designers. They said, well, that's not really right. That's not what we do here. And I said, you're right. Write them an email back and give them this analogy. If I came to you with a legal problem and you gave me a price to fix my legal problem, and I in turn said, that's a lot, let me go on LegalZoom and get it to the 50-yard line. Now take it from there. How would you feel? And they didn't like that analogy. And I was like, that is what you basically did to us. You said that you're not worth your full rate. And I know my guys are some of the best in the biz. So we didn't win that client, but I definitely won the respect, I think, of my creative team, where I was willing to walk away from a 10K deal just to make sure that they understand that I value them. I see them. I see the work that they do, and we're not going to settle for less.
All right. All right. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I have a pretty good example of a client that we built a very strong trust. It was an Asian family client. They wanted to build an express self-storage facility in Monroe Township, Williamstown. Took them through the process, showed them various self-storage facilities in the area, just to get a feel on what their likes and dislikes were, whether it was color, whether it was the framework, the footprint of the site, where the stormwater management was going to be handled. And we're going through the project. We gave them a comprehensive proposal, but we cautioned them that every municipal board is very different. So many times the board professionals can really dictate how a project can go. And we happened to get into a situation where the board turned over, and the folks that we made a relationship with it was another engineering firm, and they really put us through the grind. So our trusting relationship was starting to teeter on, you guys don't know what you're doing. We go through the process. We got them all the approvals, NJDOT, Pinelands, the fire marshal, the county, the municipal codes, the MUA, et cetera. And there was some contentious discussions along the way. But at the end of the day, we delivered the final site plan application, got the approval. And while I was in Europe, I got a letter from the client, delivered the whole package. And this is his testimonial letter that I was just taken aback. It was unbelievable. I guess along the way, they respected what we did, and we never complained about the challenges, but we just kept grinding away using our knowledge and our relationships to get us through the process. So I saw kind of ebbs and flows on that contract over about a year and a half time. And I really thought that we had lost this client. And when I read the testimony, actually, I'm going to post it on social media today. It was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable what he wrote in that letter about myself and one of my staff members. And I want to expand it because there were so many other people that worked on it. So I kind of made a list of all the other people that were behind the scenes so that everybody gets recognized, not just myself and my main design engineer.
That's
so
awesome.
It's kind of a long-winded answer, but I saw kind of over a year and a half times where I lost sleep that I was losing this client. And being of Asian descent, I was really surprised at how he was treating me. But it was just, we just had to kind of grind through it and not ignore it, but just keep doing our job. And hopefully in time, he would appreciate us and respect what we did.
You know, it's funny, you mentioned relationships. And in this day and age, I think relationships are very important in business. It's not, I think from COVID and everything, we've become much more personal. We've built relationships through Zoom where, you get to talk to people. When you're forging a relationship, okay, when you're forging a relationship with someone, a professional relationship, what do you bring to the table? Sam, when you're forging a relationship and trying to build a relationship and someone wants to trust you to refer you for business, what do you bring to the table? What's a few characteristics you can bring to the table?
So the very first characteristic is to listen. You're not there to speak. You're there to listen to this client, prospective client, and establish some level of rapport and trust. And what you need to do is put them in a situation where they feel comfortable and they talk. And you listen, take notes, and then once you've taken all the information in, we're trained, our DNA as engineers is to process information and come up with solutions. And once I've kind of digested where this is going, I'll formulate an opinion or some thoughts. And then that creates exchange. Sometimes that works. Sometimes the client is just, kind of looking for different avenues. Maybe they had a bad experience. They want to see if we bring a different perspective to it, or maybe they want to, do business with us. So it really comes through the active listening. I see too many clients that just talk, and at the end of the day, when you walk away, you don't really know what they're looking for, because you just kind of, you talk more than they did. And I've done role play in this over the years, and some of the worst role play exercises where they don't let the client talk. The engineering firm does all the talking, so they don't understand what the client is actually looking for. What's going to keep them up at night with their project.
Okay, what do you bring, Patrick? What do you bring to the table when you're forging a relationship?
Yeah, a lot. I'm kind of reiterate what Sam just spoke about, but I learned a technique called reversing. So when somebody asks you a question, and like if you're at a networking event, hey, what do you do? I'm not really sure. What I do is not that sexy. Could you help me understand what you do for a living? And put it back on them. And like that, ask a lot of questions. I use that 70-30 rule where you're listening 70% of the time, talking 30% of the time. And just really understanding like what's most important to them, and what makes them tick, what puts money into their pocket. And then I start to think about my own network and what introductions I can maybe present and help them with, and make sure that connection goes all the way through and crosses the end zone. So
how about you, John? What do you bring to the table when you're forging a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, Sam and Pat, that was the foundation of relationship building right there. I think the only thing that I can really expand on is just being consistent. When I'm here for the long game. I'm the youngest on this panel right now, and I know that I got a lot of years left in this game. So that puts a big challenge on my plate of just making sure I maintain that reputation for years and years to come. So just making sure not to overpromise, if anything, underpromise and overdeliver. Find ways to add value to that relationship where I can, but definitely not overpromise anything that I know that I can't back up or follow up on. And just the consistency over the years. I want to make sure that I'm not just following up with you today and making empty promises today. We're going to run into each other for years and years to come here. So I want to just make sure that I bring that consistency and find my areas to throw some punches when I can, but not just go drive and throw haymakers. That's just not how you do relationship building. You got to find and pick and choose when you want to throw those punches.
Now, you said you're the youngest in this panel, and everyone's of different ages. Well, my guests, you're all in different categories. I want to know for each of you, in this point of your life, what do you consider success? I mean, it may be different because, as I said, John, you're younger. Sam, you're older than John. You've been in the business, things like that. John, what do you consider success at this point in your life?
At this point in my life, I look back at this year and I'm really proud of the team that we've developed. And I'm really proud of, I know that I've got the right foundation pieces in order for me to kind of get my time back. I don't have kids yet. We haven't crossed that line yet. And I want to make sure that when I have kids and I have that family, success to me is making sure that I can attend their games. If they've got a game or an activity at 2:00, I'm there. That's what success looks like for me. It's not about money. We all need money just to live. But for me, it's my time. So success for me right now is just making sure that I'm building a really strong foundation and a really strong team so that when I enter that next stage of my life, I can actually be successful in my own way of having time with my family.
How about you, Patrick? What's success to you right now?
I'll tell you, success is really simple. For me, I have 3 children, 22 daughter, 20 years old son, and a 16-year-old son. And my daughter just entered the workforce. My second son's a second year in college, and my third is a junior in high school. When they're out in the, wherever they are, and they come across somebody that I've done business with, and they're like, "Your dad helped me out of a jam," or "He did this," and kind of talking about, the integrity of what I do and how I do it and who I do it to. I think that's a legacy that I want to keep going on for years to come.
Okay, how about you, Sam? What's success to you? Because you've worked with a front company for a long time. You have your own business now, but for you, when you're looking at your right now, what is success to you?
So my success is measured a couple of different ways. Number one, the reason I went into business was to leave a legacy of good engineering work done by a small firm. My firm is 13 people, and we have varying ages in our company, varying skill sets. And similar to what John said, I haven't had a off the grid vacation since 1996. I've been on vacation, but I typically work 20 to 40 hours on vacation and charge PTO. And I was trying to build a team that could offer me that balance, that when I'm working, like I need a break every month. I grind it so hard. And at the end of the month, I need a little time to myself. And I've built a team now where I just came back from Europe, where I only got about 30 emails directed to me. Now I have the other half of the business, the construction business, which they were flying in and out. But from the design side, they were able to evaluate the content, answer if they could, or save it till I got back. And I was able to actually relax traveling through Europe, because it's hard to navigate a phone. The second half of the success is my family. We're getting to the point where my wife wants to retire at 65. I don't really have any aspiration of retiring anytime soon. I'm having fun. I want to see this business grow, and have a benchmark in the industry of doing good work. But I want to make sure my wife is able to enjoy retirement life, and I have to be there for her. And a lot of that is travel. The second half of it is my family. My daughter's 30. She just got engaged. And similar to what Patrick mentioned, she comes across folks that know me. And it's very humbling to hear some of the stories that she shares with me that I've tried over my whole career. I've always tried to help people. And it's nice that people, kind of recognize that. And it's helping her in her business, as she's now more in a hospitality role. So she's dealing with people 24/7. She works for Barstool, which just got acquired by ESPN, and just got a promotion. And I'm so proud of her. And my stepson we just had our first grandchild. So our life has just been changing around, and I want to be there for the grandchild. I was there for my daughter for all her sporting events and academic events. Always had that work-life balance, but I haven't really done it for myself. So I'm trying to give this bits and pieces to my grandchild, my daughter, my stepson, my wife, and then of course the business. So that's how I measure success. If I can carve up enough time in a given day for all those pieces, I'm successful.
It's great. It's funny. You guys all pretty much have this, even though you're different ages, you pretty much have the same line, the family thing, which is great. I don't have kids, so I can't talk about that because I don't have kids. But I want to talk about networking though, because that's how I met you all, networking. And networking has changed, I think. I come from a background of networking in Hollywood and stuff like that. It's a lot different. But then when I came back here, it's a lot the same. There's a lot of things I don't like about networking. I don't like clicks. I don't like people who try to be popular, like they think networking is about popularity, which it isn't. I don't like terms, some of the terms like, referral partner. It's like, well, if they're not giving you referrals, they're not really referral partners. So stop using that term. What is something you don't like about networking? Okay, there's something, and you know, and be honest, because sometimes people are afraid, like, oh, what if someone sees us? And we all probably have the same thing. But John, what is something you don't like about networking? Because you know, you've been out there a lot. You know, what's something you don't like about it?
I don't like the ass kissing anymore. That's for sure. I'm way past that. I think now, been in this game for over a decade now, so I think we've got a pretty good network. And now we're just really trying to just grow wider with people. Like I don't need more friends, for example. I don't need more friends. The older I get, the smaller I'm trying to close that circle in. So when it comes to networking, I'm not going out to networking events to go kiss ass and meet new people. I'm meeting new people because I'm growing wider with the current relationships that I have, and they're recommending and referring more good people. So I'm just past all that.
See, that's all
Short
I
answer.
need. Brutal honesty. See, I love it. You know, people can be honest, and it's nothing bad. How about you, Patrick? What do you not like about networking?
I'll tell you, I don't know if you've ever been in a circle where you're talking to somebody and they're constantly touching you. Like it's like, this is my dance space and that's yours. Stay in your lane. But yeah, you know, and you know, a lot of it is when, you know, when you're talking to somebody and they don't come up for air and they're just talking about themselves, and you're like, I need to talk to, like, I have usually like a quota. Like if I go to an event like John, I'm not there to hang out and socialize. I'm there to socialize, of course, but you know, I have a goal in mind, and you know, I need to get in and out. And if I get the 3 contacts or 3 people that I can maybe help in that event, I'm doing the Irish goodbye. I'm getting out of there. But yeah, the personal space thing, it's a big no for me.
How about you, Sam? What don't you like?
So I did a lot more networking, I guess, after the pandemic, because we were all shut down. And folks like yourself, I would have never met if I didn't move out of my comfort zone a bit. What I don't like is being patronized. You know, if we're having a discussion or somebody says, look, let's follow up with a call, a lunch, a breakfast, etc., and I follow up, I thank them for their time and don't hear anything from them. It happens all the time. And I've also, like John, kind of built a nice network. I have a very few select friends. I'm a very private person, and I don't really need more friends in my life. So from a business standpoint, same thing. We're getting referrals from work that we've done, and I'm very happy with that. We must have done something right. The other half of it is the social media element, which I just find people need to, I don't know, call so much attention to themselves. I'm very weak on social media, so maybe I'm not the right example, but I follow it all day long or after hours. And I was at that same event and I was standing in the same circle, and the way they portrayed the meeting or the group they were in was very different than the takeaway I had. So I just find social media just to be over exaggerated, and I don't know, if it went away tomorrow, I wouldn't be upset.
I got to tell you something, Sam. This is your first podcast, but you're very good at this shit, because you just led me into the next question I was going to ask, and I bring this up every episode, and I tell people I don't hate LinkedIn. Someone said, what do you hate? I don't hate LinkedIn. Hell, if it wasn't for LinkedIn, John, I sent you a message on LinkedIn about the show. That's how I got in touch with you. I didn't have your email. So I think LinkedIn's very valuable. But like you said, Sam, there's a lot of bullshit on LinkedIn. Okay. And I always bring up something. The thing that's pissing me off this week, it's really pissing me off, is, okay, I have comedian friends. When they put their shows up, they'll put a clip up. That's what they do. They do comedy. Patrick, you put up the gratitude thing. That's something good. That's something that people go, oh, this is good. I'm tired of people trying to look cutesy on LinkedIn. It's social media. Don't fucking look cutesy. Like, I saw one trying to promote something. They're like dancing and singing. This is a business website. And so that's what pisses me off this week. Patrick, what pisses you off about LinkedIn?
Wow. what pisses me off about LinkedIn?
There's got to be something that you sit there and go, why? Like, I'm sure John and Sam have good answers because they already touched on it, but there's got to be something where you go, why are you doing that?
I don't know if I have a really good answer for you, Coop.
That's all right.
You know, no, I mean, look, I'm on social media a fair amount. You know, I probably should be promoting more, you know, more of my stuff, more of my events. But I'm always trying to check myself and, hey, I want to, you know, put out that good vibe. I want people, like, I'm a big like gratitude guy. Like today is Gratitude Friday today because I was going to reverse you and go, well, what are you grateful for today, Scoop? You know, but I don't really have I don't have a faux pas or something about LinkedIn, to be quite honest. So that's a short and a long answer in there.
That's fine. How about you, Sam? Because you had mentioned about, you know, the event thing, which is so matter of fact. I know I hate when people sit there and go, "This event was luxurious." What? I was at a VIP opening the other day. I posted a picture of me and my wife. I said, "We're supporting small business." I wasn't like, "Oh, this is such a wonderful event." Shut up. What is something that bothers you about LinkedIn, Sam?
So LinkedIn, I don't have as much of a problem with as I do the other platforms. But when folks cross the line, as you mentioned, it's a business platform. When folks go on a vacation and do a plus 253, I have a real problem with that. I mean, I posted a few pictures only because people wanted me to share my experience in Europe, but it was all on Facebook and Instagram. It wasn't on LinkedIn. It's not business. It was pleasure. And it was +1 or +2. So all you do is toggle down and you can see, you know, a snapshot or a synopsis of our trip. When people post their whole, you know, photo album, I lose interest. But I do see a lot of exaggeration and misrepresentation of businesses on LinkedIn. And that's not really what the platform is for. There's a role for LinkedIn. And if you use it the way it was designed, it's actually a very powerful platform. I mean, years ago when my daughter graduated with her master's degree, I posted her picture with her cap and gown, and she got her first job through my posting. That's what it was supposed to be there for. And the person that found her knew me and said, "Have your daughter call me," and she got hired. You know, that's what it's for. But I think people have misused the platform, and I think that's where frustration has you know, ensued amongst many of us that don't use it as much.
Right. How about you, John?
LinkedIn, I probably spend the least amount of time on LinkedIn, quite honestly. I don't like it because I feel like people do just use it for business. And they go on there, they post what they did, and they get off. It's just it's just a place where they can go brag about some kind of an accomplishment or look what I did for work, and then I'm off. Because it's more supposed to be a professional platform, right? But for me, I feel like business and personal, they're so intertwined, and I don't do business people that I don't like at all. Like, I'm not going to do business with you if I don't like you, and it's not just business. It's like, do I like you as a person? And I feel like that's what social media was supposed to be more for. But now it's kind of just like this or this imaginary world that everybody lives in, and just post the highlights of their life. Meanwhile, they went on this $10,000 vacation that they made like $2,000 that month, and they just went to the hole for it. Like, I don't like social media in a way that it just portrays this imaginary world and gives people unrealistic expectations. And now everybody is comparing what they do. But I don't like LinkedIn. To go back to your question about LinkedIn, I don't like it because people just go on there, post what they do, brag about something about their accomplishment, and then they get off. It's not really a place where any kind of social interaction actually happens.
Okay. It's funny. I never brag about how something costs. I always say how I got a good deal, how I cooked dinner for like $2. That makes me happy. I'm like, I don't want to brag about spending a lot of money for a dinner when I can make it. Here's a question that I started I don't even know how it came about. And it's interesting because I love the answers people give. And once again, I'll preface this by saying I don't read business books. I've read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. I like books about rock and roll, books about actors, things that really interest me a lot. But what's a business book that you have read it can be either in the last year or in the past that really made a difference. Like you really sat there and look at it as, a blueprint, or just something that, some people say, oh, this book, it gave me away, like the Go Givers one, if you want to say that or whatever. But what's a book that you have read sometime in your career that has really helped you, a business book? We'll start with you, Patrick.
I'll go with the Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Good one.
And basically, in a nutshell, it talks about getting like 1% better each day. And, kind of like there's a reference from Andy Frisell. He says, win the day, and constantly trying to strive to be better, to be a better self. But one of the takeaways from that book was, changing your environment to put you in a position to succeed. And like we were just talking social media, oftentimes I'll be working and I'll have my phone right here and I'll look down and 12 minutes, 20 minutes go by and I'm like, what was I doing again? So I will, for periods of the day, take my phone, and I learned this from Atomic Habits, and put it in another room where I'll focus on a task at hand. Maybe it's 22 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever. And I am so much more productive doing stuff like that. So,
okay, how about you, John? What's a book you've read that's really helped you?
This year, I read a book called Built to Sell. And even though you may not be read the same book, Sam?
Read the same book. Yep.
Yeah, it's a great book. It made me think about my business a completely different way. It hit home for me because it was actually about a design firm. And we've been struggling in a similar way where you kind of get distracted by all the shiny objects by adding more services, when in reality, you really need to just focus in. So having a diner menu is not good. Having a streamlined prefixed menu is probably better, and you get more value out of that. There was just a lot of process in that book that I learned that I'm adopting to my business now. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Sam?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the titles. I've read a number of business-oriented books, both leading into forming the company and then as I've continued the business world. The one that I seem to remember the most was the one by Lee Iacocca, Chairman, CEO of Chrysler, how he built that corporation from a very small startup, which is kind of where I am. But he talked about people. He talked about how he hired, what his expectations were of building the company, a sustainable company over a long period of time. He talked about clients. He talked about vendors, on how he got raw materials, both from the U.S. and abroad. He talked about the philosophy within the culture that he wanted to build. And that's what I'm all about. It's all about the culture. As I hire people, if they don't fit the culture, I'm not going to bring them in, whether it's a salary point or whether it's just their overall business philosophy. So I've taken excerpts from his book. I think it was an autobiography, if I remember correctly. And then Warren Buffett was more on the financial side, how to be fiscally responsible, not only to yourself, to your staff, and to your clients. And I think he really outlined a simple methodical plan on how to go about those elements. And then the book that John mentioned, Built to Sell, that was an exercise from one of my professional groups that we agreed to read that book. I think I read it in January, if I remember correctly. And that had a lot of good points to just kind of reinforce what I'm doing here in the business.
Okay. Well, now here's the final question I always ask. And it'll probably have a lot of different answers, just because, Sam, you have children in the working world. Patrick, you have kids who are going in the work world. John, you don't have kids. But I'm sure you mentor a lot of college kids. Someone comes up to you, they're getting their start You know, they can just get out of high school. They want to go into the working world. They just get out of college. They can just get out of trade school. They want to get started in this path of business. Okay, they come to you and they say, "What advice do you have for me? Like, what do you think? What can you tell me that I should know to help me get my shit started?" What do you tell them, Patrick? What do you tell someone when they say to you, you know, what should I'm coming out into the real world, as we'd say. What do I do? Give me some advice.
You know, I'll go basic. You know, and we've already touched on this a little bit today, and I would say listen more, talk less. God gave you two ears and one mouth for a reason, and to put your head down and work hard. But understand, like, there's an exercise that I do every year, like a vision board. And it's kind of like looking ahead to see, like, what do you want to kind of manifest? So I would say, think about the things that you want to do and get to in your lifetime and keep them in front of you. So you see them, whether it's daily or weekly, but look at them a lot.
Okay. How about you, John?
I would say if you're starting your own business and you're meeting people, find somebody who is like two rungs up and see what they're doing really well and just try to duplicate that. If you're in the workforce and you're just entering the workforce, find that manager or person that's two rungs above you and start taking things off of their plate. You got to figure out how to make other people's jobs easier who are above you. That's how they're going to notice, like, oh, okay. John, like when I first started networking, I got involved in committees. Everybody saw me as like the 21-year-old kid, but they didn't realize that I owned my business. They thought I was just another sales guy, or I was forced to come to these networking events. So I started getting involved in committees, and I said, what needs to be done? And whatever the problem is, I figured out a solution. You need more people attending, I promoted the shit out of it. You need more sponsors, I reached out to them and I raised money. So find what people are struggling with and go do those. Find a solution.
How about you, Sam?
Yeah, twofold. As my response for business is, the person has to have a passion. Whatever they're going into business with, if they have a passion, they're going to be successful. The world is set up with plenty of folks that can help them financially get off the ground. There's plenty of programs to get them into the business. But if you don't have the passion, it's going to die on the vine. Obviously, you need a lot of sweat equity and work ethic to get that business going. But if you're entering the workforce, learn, listen to people that are, have more experience than yourself, and find a way to help them. As John mentioned, volunteer, do work in the community as well as in your professional organization to kind of build your brand, build your voice in that particular profession. Again, passion is important on both platforms, but you want to learn the business and really learn from people that have been through the grind before you.
That's great. That's all great answers. This is great today, guys. Now, how can people get in touch with you? Patrick, how can people get in touch with you if they want to use you for moving?
Well, you can go on to any kind of social media, whether it's Facebook, look up my name, Patrick Sipera. Instagram is P Sipera, or LinkedIn, Patrick Sipera. So you can certainly call or text me. We can. I don't know if we're putting anything in the notes below, but yeah. And I do Gratitude Fridays. I'm posting a video after we hop off today, so you can certainly look for some gratitude videos flying through your feed, and remember what you're grateful for.
How about you, John? How can people get in touch with 22 Creative?
Yeah, find us on social media, 22 Creative, spelled out just like on my shirt. But if you want to connect with me personally, my handle is at JP Lorenzo 22 on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
All right, and Sam?
Yeah, Keller Engineers of New Jersey is pretty adept to all the social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Also, my email is mody@keller-engineers.com, or by my cell, 609-310-0364. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of.
That's awesome, guys. And also, people, you can get in touch with me at the Coop Tank at yahoo.com. If you want to be a sponsor, hit me up. The people who are on my show are leaders and shakers and movers in the business world. The people who watch my show are too. So if you want to get your brand out there, you might want to think about advertising on my show. Also, go to the Coop Tank on YouTube. Rate us, subscribe to us, give us likes. Even if you don't watch it, give us a likes, make a comment, say, it was great. Even though you don't watch it, I don't give a shit. Just do it. That's social media. I'm being phony. Also, go to my website, coopertalk.net. That's my podcast with lots of celebrities and rock and roll stars. You can find 985 episodes there, www.coopertalk.net. And hit me up on LinkedIn at Steve Cooper. I want to thank Joe Gangemi of SuiteRecording for producing this show. Check their website out, SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com. And you all have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy Thanksgiving.